Okay, so this is a meeting of the trustees of the trust funds of Ashland, New Hampshire on July 27th, 2020, and this meeting is being recorded. We will begin with the members present, and I note that Amanda Loud is here, as is Walter Durack and David Toth. We will now look at the June minutes and the approval thereof. Do we have any corrections to make to the June minutes?
I have none.
You have none. I have none either. So then all in favor of the minutes as they stand, say, I can't do that. We have to do it since we're on Zoom. It has to be verbal. Everything has to be verbal roll call. David Toth.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
And Amanda Loud also says aye. So the next thing we want to look at is I said financial report, signatory authority. Okay, so now, Dave, now that we have these minutes approved by all of us, we need to have a quorum sign them. Perhaps the easiest would be if Walter has the minutes, since you're the secretary, and signs them, and you can leave them at town hall because I need to drop it over to the bank anyway, and I'll come up and sign them, and then we'll get them to the bank, and then Dave will get you on with signatory authority on everything.
Okay.
And that's the last link in this chain to get you on.
How many copies?
I just need one.
Okay. So I just remember that when we added me to Meredith Village Savings Bank, they wanted something silly like 6 copies with left signatures.
I wanted 6. They only wanted 1, and I kept others because, and of course, now that we have Dave Toth, I mean, they also gave 6 to put, the BOS also gave us 6 copies with David Toth. That's fine. But I wanted all the copies because as we're going forward looking at all of these trusts, you'll notice that some are held at Wells Fargo and some are held
you're anticipating
I was anticipating being able to prove that we are the trustees because there's names of dead trustees on some of these.
Okay.
So that was why there were all those copies.
All right.
Second, under the financial report, the trustees of the trust funds portal. So we all got an email from Charlie almost a month ago about this portal for the trustees of the trust fund, and is anyone going to step forward and do this? What this is about is in 2018, I think it was, definitely in 19, the state wants the MS9, which is our financial report, submitted electronically. And there is this portal, this online portal for this purpose. Now, I know that Tom Peters did not submit it electronically, and that there was an email sent out by, I think her name is Catherine. Am I getting all the names right? But anyway, she had questions about the MS9 file, and I forwarded it all to Tom because none of us were trustees in 2019. So it would be like, why ask us? You could ask any 3 other people in Ashland would have the same qualifications for not knowing what was going on with that. So anyway, the portal, in some towns, not all, but some towns have elected to have all 3 of their trustees in essence be treasurers and have the authority to do the MS9 or to work on the MS9 or to pay bills. We're only doing CRFs. I mean, with the Scribner Trust, there's some bills to be paid, but not many. But at any rate, I wonder if that's something we might want to opt to do because there's only 3 of us. And I'm the chair, and Walter is the secretary. And Dave, you're more than welcome to be the treasurer. You go off in March unless you would like to run again for another term, you know, because you're fulfilling a 1-year term. So this portal is something that we need to go on and we need to register with. And the MS9 is going to become, I think, a real issue in our lives about January, and I think it's all going to be filed electronically. So I've told you all that I know about it. I guess going forward, I don't mind going into the portal and checking it out. I do mind being the only one that can access the portal. I do mind getting that label as that's Amanda's job. You know, I don't mind being part of it, but I do mind shouldering all of it. So I mean,
no, I'll be glad to do that also.
Would you like to, did you get that email that had the portal or?
I did get the email. I read it over, and so I do have that information.
Would you mind kind of searching that out for our next meeting?
I will do that. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then you can report back on that. I'm just making notes for myself so I know what to put on our next agenda. Thank you. And then report back to us in August and say, you know, what's going on. And I'm more than happy also to be on it, as I just want to make that clear too.
Mm-hmm.
So the third thing on the agenda is to review the investment policy, which I put in our Google folder. Let me go in and get that, and I can get that up as soon as I can find where everything is on my computer. Here it is. It's a very broad investment policy. I don't know if at this time we have a lot of changes that we need to make to it. This is something that's supposed to be filed annually at the attorney, I believe it's with the Attorney General's office.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. It's the charitable trust unit.
The charitable trust. I thought you said terrible trust.
Well, it depends on the day.
Oh my gosh, that's why it was a bit of a lag there, like it said what? Okay,
it's the heat.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here it is up for everybody to see, our policy. I will say, as I look at some of this, you know, I can tell you where some of this might be headed. The cemetery perpetual quick care, that's the last that we need to look at, are the cemetery, Green Grove and Cremingsbury. And that might also involve some getting some background on that. I know that the state has very little background on this. But that will be probably our August meeting. So, but everything is broadly, worded so that it's just, mutual funds, I mean, nothing, the things that bothered me the most about it, I think, was just the grammar. Principal should be PAL.
How about the capital reserve?
The capital reserve, that was the other one that I didn't like either. But anyway, we looked at the library trust funds last meeting, and we're waiting on the library to tell us what they want to do. They're apparently talking to Tom Donovan at this Attorney General's office about possibly just dissolving those because they're such small amounts. Okay. But the capital reserve funds, these accounts are invested for safety and liquidity. They're in money market accounts at Meredith Village.
We should update to say that utility commissioners that they no longer exist.
Where are
that
you?
Would be one. The expendable capital reserve funds. Okay,
vote for the hand and up on the approval of the board. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So it should just say approval of the Board of Selectmen or party assigned to expend?
Yes.
Because the library building fund, CRF, is the authority to expend that are the library trustees.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the library trust funds has its own category.
But it's different.
That's right. They have a building.
They have a CRF. And while it's on my mind, I want you to know that today I took advantage of some time I had and have put cut and pasted from town reports all the CRFs that the warrant articles that define all the CRFs. However, I'm a little over halfway done because I cannot access the town reports either through UNH or the town website of like the years 2006 and then 2011, 12, and 13. It was just like the years I needed. I'm going to have to go to the town library and pull those reports and PDF. I have a camera app that I can on my phone. So anyway, my point is I'm working on that because that was something I think, Dave, that you brought up at a meeting a few months ago, was about getting everything digitized, and so that's what I'm trying to. So there is a folder now in the Google folder, Trustee of Trust Funds Google folder that says CRFs, and those are they're just cut and pasted. It's not terribly sexy, but it does have the warrant articles for all the CRFs. And I titled them as they're titled on the bank account, on the money market fund. So it's the same title. So it's pretty easy to find that. So, so we want to take out, utility commissioners. Okay. Anything else?
I
Fund. Yeah. Mhm.
I have nothing on this because you guys know this a lot better than I do since I just started. But
Well, we just started too.
I did review the investment policy from one of the other investment policy
Yeah.
from where?
Probably Amherst, New Hampshire. I think that was one that I shared in there. But anyway.
I'm not sure it was Amherst, but anyway, I liked their investment policy because it has it has more pertinent information about
And I'm just looking. Mm-hmm.
uh, our responsibilities as trustees in reference to the
Here, this is Swansea. I think this is what you're talking about.
Swansea, yeah, Swansea.
Fiduciary responsibility for several accounts. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I would recommend doing is or what I would be glad to do is to take this and take out their accounts and stick our accounts in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then take a. I just like the language in here.
Mm-hmm.
I like the. I also like down at the end they have a performance measurement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have that up. Can you all see that? That's what I have on. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that, and I think the last time or at our at one of our meetings we talked about, or I think it was our last meeting, we talked about monitoring these accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and the question is, well, by what standards do you monitor them?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think spelling that out, at least in general terms like they do here, is it's just helpful for people in the town to look at that and say, oh, I see what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's not, the investment policy that we have is just very general.
Yes, it's very, very general. Mm-hmm.
So we might combine the two of these.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then do some editing to make sure that what they've said in Swansea is appropriate to what we're doing here. But
Yeah.
I just think this is much more comprehensive and
Sure.
Oh, I agree. I mean, there's a reason I stuck it in the folder.
yeah, it's very good.
It's really good, and I saw it on one of the trustees of the trust funds training that I did. So that's why I thought, ooh, this is really good. Okay, well, excellent. So then perhaps at the August meeting, if you would, Dave, have something you could present to us, you stick it in that Google folder, and we could access it and look at it.
I will do that. Do you have the hard copies of this? I can't, or I'm not sure how to take this out of a Google folder. I can't copy it.
Okay, but what you could print it. Could you have a printer?
I do have a printer.
So what you could do is you could print. So you can see this. Can you see where it says open with?
Okay.
And I'm going to go open with, I'm going to open it on Google Docs. Let's see if you still see it. Oh, I am open to Google Docs. That doesn't help me. Let's see.
But I can print it and scan it as
there it went. I was just slow. I was just slow. Here we go. So, oh, yeah. Now here it is. I've opened it in a Google Doc. Now the thing is about printing from a Google Doc, kind of a little FYI, you'll have to download it to print it. And I'm moving it around because our pictures are in the way. Here it is. See the little printer icon?
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit print, and it's going to tell me, do I want to print it from my computer or save to my Google Drive? I want to print it from my computer, but I'm not going to do that now because I don't want to print it.
Right.
But I'm just telling you that when you go, you have to open it, go to, let's see if I can back up to where I was. Yeah. And open.
If I can copy it from that page, can I copy it from that page?
On the Google Doc? Yes. Not
Yeah.
here. This is a PDF. But
Yeah.
if you go down and open it as a Google Doc, yes.
Okay, if I can do that, that's all I want to be able to do, because then I can
Oh, cut and paste and
cut and
everything.
paste it and put it in Word, and I can send you guys a copy of it, or I can put it back up on Google Docs, so you can see the draft. I'll call it a draft investment policy,
Perfect.
and then we can go from there and then see if that's something that we want to pursue.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think it would be great. I think that would be great. Okay, so now we're going to vote to reinvest the Blake Memorial Park funds. This is something we've discussed at our meetings, taking on, there's 11 trusts, and we decided to start with the big 3 that have the most money in it, which is Scribner, Blake Memorial. And in the Scribner meeting, we voted to reinvest the Scribner, which FYI, Walter, I did get from Wells Fargo today confirmation that you are on the account. Just had that out.
Yay. That only took forever.
It did take a few months. It took me 4 or 5. Anyway, that's another story. But at any rate, so we talked at our last meeting that we would think about this for a while, perhaps talk to other investment advisors if we that we have any, to think about this and not make any hasty decisions. But now we're at our July meeting, and so the question does come before, and I'll make the motion to take the funds in the Blake Memorial and the Blake Fund and the Memorial Park Trust, and to take those from Wells Fargo and to invest them into Vanguard as a means of saving a lot of fees, a lot of expense ratios, as well as just to make a better investment decision. Do I have a second?
Second.
So do we have any discussion about this before we proceed?
Are we going to invest them, invest the funds as we did with the Scribner funds?
I will preface that by saying I feel that we should meet with beneficiaries for both those funds prior. My recommendation to both beneficiary groups would be to invest similarly as was invested with, as we plan to invest with the Scribner Fund.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be really great because I had that on the agenda. It says schedule meeting with respective boards, meaning the Firefighters Association and Memorial Park. That's what that meant. And
Okay.
so you, Walter, would like to meet with them, and I think that that's an excellent idea before things are reinvested. And I think that when we meet with them, Scribner will have already been, or will certainly be in process, which I think would be a very positive thing to show as well, explaining what's going on. So having said that, what is going to be the, I guess, the timeline? Do we move things first from Wells Fargo and stick it into Vanguard, or we leave it in Wells Fargo and then meet with the boards and then it goes to Vanguard? What's the process?
So what I'm working on with the Scribner Fund right now is establishing the accounts with Vanguard. So I've started that process. I'm at a point where I need to talk to a live person because I want to make sure I'm moving things correctly and I don't accidentally incur fees that we don't mean to do by accident.
Right.
But as I've researched the type of account we need to open, who should be, it's the account is the town of Ashland.
Right.
We are the custodians for that.
Yeah.
And then what I understand is that Vanguard will take those investments in kind. So I don't need to sell everything at Wells Fargo
They
get
will
a
take
check.
time.
Right.
I can
Yep.
tell you it's true. Yeah.
So I want to make sure that everything's being moved that way, and that we don't have to pay an arm and a leg to do all of that, which we shouldn't.
No.
It'll happen in kind. And then once it's at Vanguard, then we talked about making the investments as discussed at the Scribner meeting.
Right.
Once I've been through, okay.
I was going to say, be sure that it's not going to be in the name of the town of Ashland. It'll be in the name of, I think, the Emma Scribner Trust or something like that.
Right.
Right. Okay. Mhm.
Okay. So I will make sure that that's done right, because when I was looking at the Wells Fargo statements, it says town of Ashland. And I was looking at the statements online. So
Yeah.
maybe the online version of the statements is different than the physical copies.
Yeah, I believe you.
Okay. So what I was getting to with that is I think we can move both Blake and Memorial anytime, leave everything as is until we meet with those respective boards. But in the meantime, we're going to save them the management fees that Wells Fargo is extracting on top of the expense ratios that are built into the mutual funds.
That's why I'm very anxious to get this stuff moved, is because it's costing those funds money to be there, you know,
Sure.
and that just upsets me every day, literally.
Right.
So, okay. So then I move, then I think it's been seconded that we remove these. We're going to be moving these ASAP. But then of course in kind, so that's just saving on the investment fees, the advisory fees that we'd be paying. So, then I'd like to bring this now to a vote. Is there any more discussion? Okay, then the motion before the board is to move the Blake and the Memorial Park funds from Wells Fargo and to Vanguard. They'd be moved in kind, and to do this just as soon as possible. David Toth.
Aye.
Walter Durack.
Aye.
And Amanda Loud also votes aye. So therefore that's been carried. So Walter, you are on the funds and everything, and it only takes one person to move things according to Wells Fargo. So we wouldn't need any more signatures or anybody else. In fact, I got money to put in Scribner's banking account just so I could pay a roofer and things like that by just talking to Matt Lassard myself. It didn't take anybody else. So, but that wasn't moving money completely. Well, it was just cashing out some money.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Very good. So now we would want to meet with the respective boards, which would be both Blake and Memorial Park. So when would we like to do this? I mean, I'd say we invite them to a meeting, or do we ask ourselves to be invited to their meeting? I'd maybe ask them to come to our meeting. What do you think?
I think we should ask to be on their respective agendas.
Okay. Okay. And so whom should I contact for the Blake Fund?
That's going to be the association president.
Is that Matt Wendell? But no, he's a treasurer.
Right. It's Samantha Leahy.
Oh, okay. And I know Sam. Okay. And then a Memorial Park. Do we know who the president of the Memorial Park Trustees is? I know
Not
that
off the top of my head.
I know that Steve Jakewith is on Memorial Park. I mean, he's a contact that I know.
Mardine keeps the committee and board
That's
listings
right.
up to date on the town website. We can always check there.
I will look at that. Thank you.
Sure.
And so what I will do is I'll contact both of these. I'll CC you on my emails to them and ask them, you know, when can we come to one of their meetings? We would like to discuss how the funds are. Tell me what to say exactly. We would like to discuss how the funds are invested and our proposals, or
And explain how the funds are currently invested and understand what their needs are from the income generated by the funds. In other words, is the investment strategy match their needs?
I'm writing this down.
Okay. you know, and someone might say, well, we want everything in stock because that's the most growth, in which we've got to say, well, it needs to be in conformance with our own investment policy, which is required to be, you know,
And we
in,
need to have a balanced.
right, exactly.
Okay, very good. So I'll do that. So we'll find out when that is, and I'll let you know when we can be at their meetings. Other funds. We're still waiting to hear from the library. As I said earlier, there are 3 different funds that were for the benefit of the library that are smaller trusts. And my understanding is that they have contacted or are in the process of contacting Tom Donovan at the Attorney General's office to find out how those trusts can be terminated and just have the funds given to them, because they're very, very small amounts of money. Scholarship funds. So this is the last frontier will be the cemetery fund, but this is a scholarship fund. Those are, and I put those in the Google folder today. There's not under smaller town funds. There's 2 scholarship funds. And to preface this, you probably saw my email today to Tom Peters, which asked several questions about the scholarships and how they're calculated in all kinds of ways. You know, I've been on a few scholarship committees here in the area through Plymouth Regional High School, and you have a choice that either the high school kind of tells you who won your scholarship, or you can choose who wins your scholarship. Now, the boards I've been on have both said we want the high school to choose who wins this scholarship, and here are the parameters of the scholarship. We want, you know, because the high school teachers obviously know the student body far better than we do, and would know who would qualify for this scholarship or be the best candidate. And then we're told that it's going to be John Brown, and we all get excited, and, you know, John Brown gets a scholarship. I don't know how that works. There's 2, one is the Addison and the other is the Doggett Scholarship. There's 2 Addison funds. One is for the library, and then there's a second one that's an Addison, the Addison Library Fund versus the Addison Fund, which is a scholarship fund. So anyway, my understanding in going through paperwork is that their scholarships were awarded. The Addison was awarded in 2020. The Doggett was not. And we'll talk about the balances of those here in just a minute. And the winners of the Addison for 2020, I got thank you notes in our P.O. Box 425 from them. And they are Taylor Schomburger, I hope I'm saying the name right, and Hannah Olmstead. And they each received, as far as I understand, $500 each from the Addison. Now, I think that's wonderful. I also want you all to see what the balance is in the Addison Fund, because I just about had a heart attack. So the balance in the Addison Fund, no, it's not negative 36 cents. Hold on, I got the wrong page out. I've got my grand buildup, and it didn't work. So let me go into my June. It was this one of them. Where's the front page? No, I can't find the first page. Anyway, you're gonna. Oh, here you go. So it had a balance of $13,000, and they gave $1,000 in scholarships, which means they gave 10% of this fund in a scholarship. I just about croaked. Am I the only one that's having a problem with spending 10% of a scholarship fund?
Well, it's not a problem if you don't want the fund to last forever.
Well, there you go. It's not, and that seems to be, and I'm going to try to stay very calm because my blood is boiling right now for more reasons than just the temperature in my house. That has been what has happened with every single trust that we have found, is that it's been incredibly overspent, and they're not lasting forever. Underinvested and overspent. So I'm not against the scholarship. If I had been a trustee of the trust funds to award this scholarship, And the award, we're notified of this in like April or maybe February. Anyway, that it's time to, is our scholarship still valid? And, the letter goes in, I've done this before, and you sign the letter, it goes to Gloria Rainwater at Plymouth Regional High School, and you say, yes, our scholarship is still valid. And then either we pick them or they pick, and that's what I'm trying to clarify. But at any rate, if I had been a part of this when that time was around last year or earlier this year, I would have said one scholarship for $500, not two for $500 each. I think $500, I would have said, okay, and then I would have taken a deep breath and crossed my fingers, because I think that still would have been a good chunk out of this account. But what's done is done. And I think it's marvelous that these two young people have received the Addison scholarship. Taylor is going to get a degree at PSU and major in business administration. And Hannah Olmsted is, she's going to Keene State and play field hockey for Keene State and study management with a focus in either international business or finance. So I thought those were both, I'm not trying to detract from that. I am very concerned that this, in my opinion, I wouldn't vote for it to continue at this rate.
No, I would agree.
So at any rate, this is the account that has a lot of money in it.
Right. Well, and like I've said before, we need to be treating these funds, and I think this was in the context of the Scribner Fund. If you want to look at these in terms of retirement funds, we need to be treating these like someone who's 60 or 65 and just retired and needs this to last in perpetuity.
I agree. I agree. I mean, even someone maybe a little younger than that. So anyway, this is the Addison fund, and this is currently invested through UBS, which I think that this, there's some that are. This one isn't in Miami. Then there's also the Doggett Fund. Let me see.
UBS has an office right in Concord, because I remember looking right through those statements that I think the financial advisor or whoever is based in Concord. They're right next to the Capitol.
Oh, okay, good.
I think they're on Park Street. Okay.
Now here's the Doggett Fund, and this has only less than 2,000 in it. 1,914.17, and as you can see, it's gone down and down, and my guess is a large part of this, even in Tom Peters' resignation letter, he says that there isn't enough funds to have a scholarship from this every year. When they have given a scholarship, my understanding is it's been $500, which is a tremendous amount of this fund. That would be 25%. If they gave one, if we were to turn around and do this right now.
Right. I mean, that doesn't even qualify. If say, for instance, that moved to Vanguard, you wouldn't even be able to invest it in a single mutual fund, because most of the mutual funds at Vanguard have a $3,000 minimum.
Yeah, I know. This is why, and this is the state of our scholarship funds. So this has me, very, very upset. Anyway, moving forward from this, I have a motion that we move the Addison Scholarship Fund and we move the Doggett Fund. Well, I guess having said that, I'm not real sure with UBS what kind of, I guess my motion is that Walter looks at these more closely and tells us what the expense ratios are and how it's invested, and if it would do better somewhere else.
I'll second that.
That's a good plan. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just got such an incredibly bad taste with Wells Fargo, but I looked into Wells Fargo and knew that this was just a mess. I don't know if UBS is a mess. But I would like, Walter, if you wouldn't mind looking at this stuff. It is I scanned the statements and stuck them in the Google folder.
Sure.
And if you could look at that for our next meeting in August, and just report on what you think's going on with the scholarship funds and how those are invested. And then also, hopefully by then we'll have some reply from Tom Peters on the questions I asked about the logistics of of the scholarships and how they're given. Now, the Blake Fund, that's something that the Firefighters Association decides. And so we're just told, you know, that's not a big deal. What I found interesting is that in 2019, the same two people who got the Blake scholarship funds also got the Addison. And I didn't know if that was just a coincidence or what. It does appear that when you get the Addison, and we don't do anything other than release funds for Blake. But with the Addison, they will get it awarded in May of their senior year graduation, but then they must complete the first semester, which is true of all the other scholarship committees I've been on. They complete their first semester of college, then we trustees get their transcript, and then we release the $500 to each of them, or we tell UBS to release the $500 to each of them. And it is made payable. I believe the check is made payable to the student and not to the institution, I believe. But I could check on that. But anyway, I don't know. That's something that we trustees will be looking to do to grant the scholarships in about February. And I have run through this before and worked with Gloria Rainwater. I know what that paperwork looks like. So, and it's really fun to do. It's one of the funnest things I've done has been on the Ashland Garden Club. We had a scholarship, which we renamed it for the Shirley Splain Scholarship. And that's been a lot of fun. But we have, you know, parameters on that. I worked on that with Plymouth Regional, and we have parameters that they're going to go into, like biology, botany, or something like that, you know. So it's a very specific, you know, to someone who is from Ashland, you know. Primarily we give first choice to Ashland. Anyway, it's got a lot of, and I have no paperwork for the Addison scholarship to know, you know, what their guidelines are, who qualifies for it, so, or how they're even picked. But hopefully we'll have some information on that in a week or two, and I'll forward that when I get it. Okay, so that covers the two scholarship accounts, which are Addison and Doggett. We need to schedule a working session in August, and this because there would be at least two of us there. I would post it as a meeting, but I would also post it with no public comment. Because we're just going to be signing checks. Charlie has a list of about four CRFs that we need to sign. I thought we would do it at Town Hall, which is where the CRFs are now stored. And it would take us all of probably, in all honesty, our first time through it, about 20 minutes, I'm guessing. Is there Walter and I right now are the only two that can sign. However, by, you know, I would say in another week or two, Dave, we would have you on there as well. And I think it would be a good idea, honestly, if all three of us were there, if that's possible, just so we all, because none of us have done this before, so that we all have an understanding of what we do to sign the CRFs.
Sure.
And we can sit, you know, we can distance ourselves, I think, at Town Hall around the desk in the big room and wear masks, you know, definitely. Is there any time in August that works better? Our meeting would be on the 24th, but I don't want it to be at our meeting. I want this to be a separate kind of quickly done in and out thing. It would at Town Hall, which means I think ideally it would be a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday between like 8 and 5. Is that going to work for you, Walter?
It will, yeah, because either I go to work a little bit later, or I come home on, you know, stop in on my way home. So
okay. So okay, I'm looking at the calendar. What works well for everybody? So I just pull out how about Wednesday, August 19th?
As far as I know, that's good for me.
sure, that's good for me.
Do you prefer morning or like early, like Walter goes in a little later? Would we like to do it first thing in the morning, or would we like to have Walter leave work a little early and do it more towards the afternoon?
First thing in the morning is best for me.
Okay.
Especially,
Okay.
I mean, I'm open to anything, but whatever works best for you guys.
Okay.
Sure, no, That's fine with me.
Okay, so is 9 o'clock too late?
No, not at all. Because you know what? If I'm already at work, I'll just leave and come back to Ashland for a few minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I will schedule us then on Wednesday, August 19th at 9 o'clock.
Okay, I'll just put an appointment on my work calendar so I don't put myself in another meeting at the same time.
Okay. And we will I will post it since we will be a quorum, but we will sign the CRFs and
Okay.
get that. And by then I will have the full digital compendium. I just need to go sit in the library, which I have a key to. And
So
get
Amanda,
Mhm.
as a procedural question,
Mhm.
what are we actually signing? Are we signing checks, making them out, or okay, so we're not just signing a withdrawal authorization. That we
No,
give to the bank.
we're signing checks, and I'm going to go in and check the CRFs and be sure there were checks in all the files. I'm going to go familiar
Okay.
to myself with that ahead of time, like tomorrow,
Okay.
so I have time to contact Jill White at Meredith Village if something doesn't look right to me or something. And then I'll go sit in the library later this week for a couple of minutes and get the other warrant articles that we need. Because our job is to not only sign the checks, the floodgates for the money, but we also must make sure that the money's really being spent as what the warrant article said it could be spent on.
Okay.
So, which I'm sure it is, but that's just our job.
So for the record,
Yes.
we are not voting to release funds. We are simply
Releasing them. We have no authority. The only way we can withhold funds is if we look at the request from for the CRF, and the warrant article does not allow that. The only way we could stop funds is if DPW says we want to, and they're not going to do this. This is the most ridiculous I could think of. We're going to take a vacation because we've worked really hard this year, and we're going to use part of our CRF to go to Miami.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Not that anyone would go to Miami right now anyway, but that's just this ridiculous
Okay.
example that I'm saying. And then we would say no, because the DPW CRF says that it has to be spent on, equipment and maintenance and whatever. It doesn't have travel. So that's the only time we could withhold the funds. Okay, so I'm going to have this on my calendar so I know that it happens. And then I'm going to put over here, post CRF meeting, so I don't forget to do that. Okay. Possible non-public with the Board of Selectmen. So I would like us to petition the Board of Selectmen in the very near future to meet with them in a non-public session about gifts that have been made to the town. I think that this is not something that should be done in public because names could be mentioned. And I do think that there's been a history in the town of Ashland of gifts not being recorded well as far as the beneficiaries are handled well. We do have a trustee of the trust fund's mysterious safety deposit box at Meredith Village Savings Bank that on April 7th was closed by a trustee, and the contents of which, as far as I'm concerned, are not worthy of a lockbox. If the contents are what I was told they were, and I'm understanding this correctly, that was nothing more than 2 manila envelopes filled with passbooks from savings accounts from the 1970s. So at any rate, the chain of events is not, in my opinion, going very well. And I think that this is actually under the purview of the Board of Selectmen, that there needs to be tighter regulations, for less of a better term, in place in town on how gifts benefit the beneficiaries. And we found that true, for example, with the 3 library funds, where the library hadn't seen any money from that in decades because it was on a reinvestment. So anyway, I don't know how you two feel, but I would like to go before a non-public with the BOS to discuss some of this.
I agree that the non-public is the best way to address that.
So Do you have any thoughts, Walter?
No, I feel the same way. I feel that if we don't have one already, and I can't recall what the text of the law says, the town should have a gift acceptance policy
Yeah.
in place.
Yeah, I know that.
And this might be the
yeah.
point for kicking that off.
Well, I know that with the playground, there was, I think that was enacted, or I don't know, you know, I'm not saying it was written at the time, but there was something I know with getting the playground gift. I just,
Right.
and a lot of what we would talk about at this non-public session is water under the bridge, unfortunately, is things that have occurred long ago. However, if the lockbox was closed April 7th, that wasn't that long ago. And I think that there just needs to be a better system in place. And I think that the Board of Selectmen need to be aware of some of the things that we've discovered.
For reference, when were the letters of resignation from the former trustees tendered to the board?
Tom Peters was May 11th, dated May 11th, and Mark Ober's would be 11/10/98. Because his was a Friday and Tom Peters was on a Monday. And April 7th was a busy day. I've got the lockbox closed that day, and I have scholarship money asked for from Wells Fargo. I think the Blake Fund scholarship was asked for, and Addison, you know, sent off to UBS and to Wells Fargo to liquidate, you know, to pull the checks, which, you know, was needed to pay for the 2019 awardees, because, you know, they don't get it until they've completed one semester and presented their transcript.
Mm-hmm.
So I will contact Eli and Charlie and ask to be a non-public, you know, as soon as possible.
I'm guessing that the process would be similar to when the town accepts grants.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I know from from experience that you know, the board votes to accept the grant or the gift, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that what happens to the money after it's accepted is specified.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, and I think that's one of the things that you want to make sure happens.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been, I know that from, and I guess just as a point of you know, matter here, I have boxed up everything that was in the Scribner room at the library. It's about 11 boxes, 2 of which have been taken over to the town hall. Patsy said that she just wanted, because of lack of space, 2015 to 2019, which is there. 2019 is actually still at the auditor, but those boxes are there, those 2. I am hesitant to get rid of any other boxes at this time. The library is not open to the public. It's not as though the stuff is in the way. And I'd like a little more detail to be settled before that's any of those records are destroyed. I know that by 91A, what we do and do not need to keep, you know, and some of that stuff we still need to keep, some of it we do not need to keep. Mm-hmm. But I've got records going back to 1933 in there, and I have spent over 6 hours up in the second floor of the Scribner room filing stuff by year. And so let me tell you, there's a lot of places I'd rather be than there. But anyway, it has been all filed. It is organized by year. It is clearly marked and labeled on boxes. And we may be in a position that if we can't store some of that at town hall, we'll find somewhere else to store it, because I'm very hesitant. I did find an entire closet full of phone bills dating back to about 1960, and I'm not exaggerating. And the Craig Moore said that just to let him know and meet me, I can meet him at the, his staff at the library one Monday morning about 7 a.m. and they'll get him to the dump for me. It's just like boxes and boxes. I'm like, what is it? They were phone bills. Oh my gosh. So some stuff clearly we don't need to keep. But anyway, I just wanted to apprise you of that has been, I have gone through it. I'm a little hesitant to get rid of some of those records at this time, even though some of them are very, very old. Okay, so I'll get us on the BOS. I'll ask when the BOS can have us on and I'll let you know. So there we go. I told you I didn't think it was going to be a terribly long meeting this time. They've been very long for the first few, and I appreciate your patience. But yeah, I've thought of this, what we've kind of inherited is a lot of like buying that fixer house. It's really exciting. And then it's like so exciting you don't even want to live in it for the first couple of months. I've done one of those. So but now I think we're kind of getting to a point where we're getting our heads wrapped around this, and getting stuff slowly sorted, to where most trustees of the trust funds in other towns, honestly, they meet about 4 times a year. And I think we're going to be in that position, going forward in 2021. Okay, so other business. Do we have any other business? Any other business?
I have none.
I don't.
Well,
I have none.
Our next meeting then, as I said earlier, will be we'll sign the CRS on August 19th, and we'll be on Monday, August 24th at 7. Okie dokie.
All right.
Okay, well then I move that we did, we don't dismiss the meeting. What do we do?
Adjourn.
We adjourn the meeting. Thank you. The heat is just killing me. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We can do that because
Aye.
we have to take a vote to adjourn the meeting.